Welcome back to the Week 15 edition of my weekly NFL Pick'em. Last week I tried to come out and run the Wildcat with that Talladega Nights theme, but it flopped as my least viewed Pick'em episode of the season. Instead of spending too much time game planning for another episode of that, I'm going to take my 30-yard sack and shift my focus to my Christmas mock draft and the playoff prediction videos. But don't worry, Talladega Nights will be the answer for a trivia question for a giveaway on this channel somewhere down the road. But I asked you for your theme suggestions, got so many awesome ones, and I still want to give someone a Madden 21 code for your efforts. So AJ all day, hit me up in the Twitter DMs for your Madden 21 code, and I'll make sure to add in a few extra elf references for you. One of my favorites. Also, last week there were more comments saying I talk too much than usual in the last video, so let's get back to business and stay focused on the games. I guess nobody cares about my fantasy team, so I'll just be your NFL robot. Make sure you hit that like button. The goal is going to be 1,000 likes on this video. So without further ado, let's get into these Week 15 games. We've got a 4-day NFL week here, so let's try to run through these. On Thursday Night Football, we've got the Chargers versus the Raiders. The Raiders chose a short week to fire their defensive coordinator after losing to the Colts, because even a move to Vegas couldn't shake the ghost of Philip Rivers from haunting them. Rod Marinelli is going to take over as the defensive coordinator, and it'll be interesting to see if there's some personnel changes in the next week or so. They're also going to be missing Jonathan Abram, Damon Arnett, Cleveland Ferrell, and Nicholas Morrow from this game due to injury, and then now they have to take on Philip Rivers' old team, who's already found their next quarterback to torch this Raiders secondary for another decade. These Raiders injuries though will allow Justin Herbert to put on a show for his second primetime performance of the season. However, it probably still won't be enough, because it's the time of the year where the desperate teams find a way to win, and even though I think the Chargers are much better than their record, they're playing for pride at this point. The Raiders still have a window for the playoffs. I think we see the better performance from them. Raiders win 31-28. And then on Saturday, we've got Bills versus Broncos in the first game of our doubleheader. This game is actually in a direct conflict with the ACC championship game, which is Notre Dame versus Clemson. That doesn't typically happen. And if you haven't started watching football on multiple screens at home, then this is a good time that you could try to experiment with it, because it is game changing. And I know Bills fans, you guys probably aren't going to want to miss watching your future rival, Trevor Lawrence. But for the Broncos, Drew Lock bounced back last week against a young Panthers defense, but he's going to need to keep it going if he's going to renew the faith in his future as the Broncos franchise quarterback. Rookie wide receiver KJ Hamler showed up in a big way. He had a big game, and this rookie wide receiver class is as insane as we all thought it would be, but I don't know if anyone expected this much production from them as a group this early. But Drew Lock can right all of his wrongs in 2020 with a win against the Bills. If there is a weakness to this Bills team, I guess some teams have had some success through the air. You just got to avoid Tre'Davious White over there. The Bills are too good to pick against right now, but this matchup is set up to trap them if they're slipping. But Sean McDermott's had these guys ready to play in almost every single game. I think Bills win 27-23. Panthers versus Packers. The last matchup between these two teams in 2019 took place in the snow and had a questionable finish, with the Panthers running Christian McCaffrey on the goal line for the final play of the game to potentially tie it up, and it was about as close of a call as you'll ever see. This one likely won't be as close. Aaron Rodgers is playing in a nationally televised game. It should be quite a show. I just need Devontae Adams to keep it going for my fantasy squad. Packers win this one 33-20. Then shifting to Sunday, we've got the San Francisco 49ers versus the Dallas Cowboys.
Francisco, that's fun to say. Francisco.
You know, there are so many random storylines this year, and I totally forgot that the 49ers have been playing in the Cardinals Stadium. I'll take an L last week for hyping up Alex Smith returning to San Francisco. But the 49ers, they also just lost Deebo Samuel for the season. But watch out for him to be a breakout star in 2021 with a full healthy offseason, and Brandon Ayuk across from him in his second year. But he's going to be a big loss for them for the remainder of this year. And not many teams have the luxury of a coach-GM cohesion quite like the 49ers, and those guys have to know that there's value in losing these games here down the stretch. But they're bringing Kittle back from IR, and that sends a different message from their outlook on this current season. Despite Cowboys fans wishing that they would lose out for a higher draft pick, the Cowboys are still trying to instill confidence in the coaching staff after announcing Mike McCarthy will be back in 2021. The Cowboys did dominate a bad team in the Bengals last week, and after all the bad fumble luck they've seen this year, there was a reversal of that misfortune against the Bengals. They do say that turnovers come in bunches, and the 49ers have been struggling offensively. I think that the Cowboys continue to ruin their draft stock with some more wins here. Cowboys win 27-19.
Francisco.
Seahawks versus Washington. Seahawks have been pretty successful in the East Coast, but they're going to need more than a bowl of Wheaties to beat this Washington defense, because they are pretty legit. And Alex Smith was the bus driver that they needed to make this whole thing work, but he's now dealing with a calf strain, and Dwayne Haskins is taking the first team reps in practice this week. Pretty clear Dwayne Haskins isn't the type to accept the old bus driver role and really wants to push the ball downfield, but he's just not there. Washington doesn't win with anyone but Alex Smith this year, and they're also probably going to be missing rookie running back Antonio Gibson again. I personally don't think that Washington stands a chance if the Seahawks Seahawks offensive line can give Russell Wilson even a little bit of protection. Seahawks win 26-14. Bears versus Vikings. The Bears got things right against the Texans last week. That was one of the more dominating performances of the entire season. It's amazing how much a solid performance from the quarterback elevates the entire team. For the Vikings, Dalvin Cook's the only thing that they've really got going for them right now, and he's about to run into a solid run defense. Even Dan Bailey is broken again after recovering from a rough start in Minnesota. The Vikings won this previous matchup on Monday Night Football back in October. That was also against Nick Foles. If the Bears bring this offensive game plan to Minnesota, I think they steal one from the Vikings and essentially knock them out of the playoff picture. Bears win 23-20. The Bears could technically still win out and make the playoffs, but I think that both of these teams end up missing out. Patriots versus Dolphins. Man, Xavier Howard. This guy has not been mentioned enough this year, so I'm trying to play a little catch up here. He and Byron Jones form a really good duo at cornerback, and this Dolphins defense is going to be one of the best in the league probably next year and for the next few years. And I finally decided the Patriots are the most frustrating team in the league. At this point, they are definitely on Santa's naughty list and just don't even deserve to be in the playoffs. I'm sure they'll make me eat my words once again before the season's over, but the Dolphins should have the confidence necessary after going toe-to-toe with the Chiefs, and I think that they get it done this week against the Evil Empire. Dolphins win 24-16. Jaguars versus Ravens. Old Gardner Minshew is back as the starter for the Jaguars, and honestly, he's probably the best option that they have right now. They've only got 3 games left before he'll probably go on to play the Ryan Fitzpatrick role in the next gen, and the Jaguars will have either Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields as their starting quarterback. But the real story here is the guy in the thumbnail. After Sunday, I was debating between Hassan Reddick or Chase Young. I even thought about making a thumbnail Ravens versus Browns midway through that Monday Night Football game, because that might have been the best game of the season, at least one of the most entertaining from start to finish. But you know, it had to be a Lamar Jackson thumbnail, and not just because of Lamar Jackson making the greatest individual comeback of all time, but because the game could have ended with Willie Snead coming in for Trace McSorley and getting sacked on 4th down, and this game still would have been an all-time classic. But Lamar Jackson coming back from a dump in the Browns Stadium of all teams, I mean, this is the type of stuff that makes Lamar Jackson such a great leader, and the Ravens needed a performance like that out of Lamar Jackson and this offense to jumpstart things for another run here. Just like that, they are once again one of the scarier teams in the league. And it wasn't just because the Ravens won the game, it was how they did it. I think the Ravens should be able to take care of the Jaguars in this one as long as Lamar Jackson doesn't have to stop to take another big dump in the 4th quarter. And obviously, even then, they still have a chance. So this Ravens schedule is pretty favorable for them to win out and ride some momentum into the playoffs. Ravens win 34-17. Buccaneers versus Falcons. These two teams might be heading in different directions, but are both frustrating to the same degree. It feels like the Bucs will turn on a switch when it's win or go home, while the Falcons might have one more win on them for this entire season. It always seems like they squeeze in an upset in the final month of the season, and this could be that game. Last week, the Bucs held Leonard Fournette out as a healthy scratch, but now he is back in a prominent role after Ronald Jones got a pin in his finger to fix a fracture. Jones was also added to the reserve COVID list, so he's had a busy week. The Bucs are the smart and easy pick here, but look out for that final Falcons upset in the next few weeks. Bucs win this one though, 24-17. Lions versus Titans. This is one of the best stories of the week, or worst stories, however you want to look at it. Lions center Frank Ragnow is a tough SOB. This guy suffered a fractured throat. That's right, a fractured throat last week in the 1st quarter and still finished the game. His availability is uncertain for this one though. Matthew Stafford might also not be available. I think the Lions would be wise to rest these guys, take their L this week. They're probably going to lose even with a full deck of cards. But Darrell Bevell and the rest of his Lions roster are fighting for their jobs in 2021 and beyond, so the Lions will probably still put up a good fight, but ultimately the Titans are one of the best teams in the league. Should be able to handle this Lions team. Let's go King Henry. Fantasy squad needs you. Playoff time. Titans win this one 34-16. Texans versus Colts. Texans didn't recover from that heartbreaker against the Colts 2 weeks ago. We don't often get a rematch this quickly afterwards, but this is a surprisingly good part of these quick turnarounds for these division rivalry games. Unfortunately for Deshaun Watson, all of his weapons are still hurt, and he was essentially throwing to ball boys in Chicago. This week, he does get Brandon Cooks back, and Watson did throw for 341 against the Colts with the same wide receivers he should have available to him this week. But the Colts are riding high after taking down the Raiders in Vegas. Jonathan Taylor's hitting his stride at the right time for a playoff run, taking some pressure off of Phillip Rivers, and the Colts are an easy pick in this one. Look at the Texans. They either gave up on the season last week, or they took a week off and pouted while they contemplated their revenge. My biggest concern for the Colts is going to be the injuries mounting, especially along the offensive line, which is the foundation of this team. If Anthony Costanzo can't go, they might have to start Chaz Green, and that doesn't typically end well for teams. Trust me, I know. Last week, the injuries forced Quentin Nelson to play some left tackle, and he showed off why he's one of the best offensive linemen in the league, bar none. And if Chaz Green has to play, oh man, please let me see him get dominated by JJ Watt or Whitney Merciless. The NFL flips and flops every week, and this week I'm rolling with quite a few upsets, and I think we could see one here too. Texans win this one 27-26. Eagles versus Cardinals. Of course the Eagles come out on fire with Jalen Hurts and beat the best team in the NFC. Everybody saw that coming. I did feel like all along that he would spark the offense, but I didn't expect the change up quite this quickly. But look how the mobility impacted the Eagles offensive line, how it opened up holes for the running game, and most importantly how it impacted the Eagles defense when they weren't constantly being put back on the field in bad situations. But Taysom Hill should show you that as fast as the results can come, you can run into the right group of guys on defense, have the players and the coaching to stop you if you're not able to run a multi-dimensional offense with your quarterback. But you want to keep calling Jalen Hurts the backup because Doug Peterson has like a 9-3 record with a backup quarterback. I mentioned earlier that Hassan Reddick almost got the thumbnail this week for setting the record for sacks in a game with 5. After moving to outside linebacker this year, this dude is having a breakout season in a contract year, of course, and he's going to get paid this offseason, and it's going to be one of the riskiest moves of free agency. He was a really fun user middle linebacker in Madden for a long time, but he should have never been put in that position to start with because he was a pass rusher at Temple, but his size didn't lend to the traditional size of the edge rusher prototype the NFL is used to. Shout out to Vance Joseph though for figuring out how to use this guy. This week, Reddick will have to chase down another mobile quarterback, but this one actually has 2 healthy hamstrings and won't be as easy of a target. I think Kyler Murray will be on a mission to outperform the guy that took over for him in Oklahoma.
He's an angry elf.
And the Cardinals defense now has some film on Jalen Hurts, so they can prepare for some of the stuff that they saw against the Saints. Jalen Hurts is still going to be a wild card in this one though, but I do think that the Cardinals will win 27-21. The Jets versus the Rams. Rams have a nice easy one to maintain their hold on the NFC West. This team just needs to keep doing what they're doing, and they're going to be set up really well heading into the playoffs. The Rams win this one easy 28-13. Chiefs versus the Saints. Anytime the Chiefs play a decent NFC team, it is a potential Super Bowl matchup, but this one is against the potential best overall team in the NFC that also has a defense that could potentially challenge the Chiefs. A few weeks ago, I compared Mahomes to being the next baby goat of this generation, and that you're probably going to get sick of hearing about how awesome he was, kind of like people do with LeBron. But if I'm sticking with the NBA reference here, the Chiefs as a whole are kind of like that 73-9 Golden State Warriors team from 2016. Mahomes is obviously Steph Curry in this example, and I need your help trying to figure out the other guys. I spent way too long trying to come up with who Travis Kelce would be between Klay Thompson or Draymond Green, but Tyreek Hill was an easy one, and that's Kevin Durant, one of the best pound for pound players in the league, and they really don't even need him to win games, but damn, he makes them almost unstoppable. This week, the Chiefs are getting a humbled Saints team that fell into a trap game in Philly against a rookie quarterback. Taysom Hill was okay in this game, but ball security is one of the things that the dynamic running quarterback cannot overcompensate for, and it's becoming an issue with Taysom Hill. He's also taking a lot of sacks. In his 4 starts, he's been sacked 13 times. For reference, Drew Brees was only sacked 10 times in the 10 starts prior. I was a week early on predicting the defense adjusting to Taysom Hill and slowing him down, but you always knew that it was coming, and now the Saints may have lost the #1 seed along with that game in Philly. But there's something about the Saints' 3-headed quarterback monster that is so intriguing to me heading down the stretch. I see a scenario still where Jameis Winston has his chance to shine, but the expectation, or hope I guess, in New Orleans is that Brees comes back healthy, rejuvenated, and ready to make a run with the top defense in the league. That's not going to be a scenario for this week, and the timetable for his return is still unknown. In this week's game, I think we got a frustrated Saints squad catching a Chiefs team that has been beaten down with these close games and narrow wins, and I think that the Chiefs have to suffer one more loss before the season's over. Some people don't believe that this is a thing, but maybe Andy Reid holds back a little bit in the game plan in case of an eventual Super Bowl matchup. I heard this wild stat from Field Yates. The Chiefs are 8-1 when falling behind 10 points. In that time, the rest of the league is 68, 356, and 1. If you want my honest opinion, I think he holds back in most games until he has to, and that's what makes him such a dangerous combo with Mahomes. Andy Reid is basically the guy that has the best player in Madden, and he pulls out the cheese plays as soon as the game look like it might get out of hand and they're running out of time to make a comeback. That kind of stuff is going to get them in trouble against a really good team, and I think it's the week for the Chiefs to get humbled. Either that or they're probably just going to come blow somebody out, and this is going to look like a really dumb pick, but I do think that the Saints win 34-31. And then on Sunday Night Football, we have got Browns versus Giants. Honestly, back to last week's Monday Night Football game, I feel like that game went exactly as it needed to for both teams. And it's always hard to have this conversation when a team is lost because nobody wants to take a loss. But Baker Mayfield looked peak Heisman level out there, including the athleticism that he showed only a couple games after I mentioned him looking stiffer than I remembered. I like Baker Mayfield, I really do. But I think he just needs the spotlight to shine like that. It's not a criticism of him. I actually think it sets him up well for the playoffs. But we as football fans don't need the Browns to peak week in the second week of December. They're finally going to do this playoff thing for real and do it right. For the Giants, they really did rush Daniel Jones back into the lineup, and I swear it's because Colt McCoy was having instant success and they didn't want confidence in Jones to waver. Well, that was a terrible idea, and the Cardinals made the Giants pay for it. But now we're potentially looking at Colt McCoy versus the Browns in a revenge game. Now, as a Texas fan, there might not be a college quarterback that will ever disappoint me more than Colt McCoy did, and he got punished by being drafted by the Browns during their lowest time in franchise history when they were going through quarterbacks like toilet paper. At this point, I'd rather watch him try to take on the Browns than watch a hobbled Daniel Jones take another 6, 7, 8 sacks just to fumble on half of those. To me, the Browns win 26-17. Monday Night Football, we've got Steelers versus Bengals. And I think that the Steelers offense is a little bit broken right now, but they can look to their AFC rival Ravens and see how quickly things can turn around, but I'm not so sure if they will. Honestly, I think that if 25-year-old Big Ben could see the way, what is he, 39 now, 38? If he could see the way current Big Ben is playing, 25-year-old would whoop this old Big Ben's ass. Get out of here with this won't quarterback sneak business, man. This is one of the toughest quarterbacks in NFL history. Literally, his claim to a gold jacket will be based off of his toughness, and he wants to finish his career afraid of getting hurt during a quarterback sneak. Man, Ben Roethlisberger keeps talking about retirement, and third time's the charm for me. It's pretty clear this guy has got a foot out the door already. He came back to ride this defense to a top seed, and somewhere along the line decided that he wanted to be the star of the show again. There's rumors that he's checking out of run plays too often, and that's not how this team is built to win. Just because you have 4 or 5 wide receivers that would start on most NFL teams doesn't mean that you need to force feed them the ball. We'll see if the Steelers can rebalance their offensive formula. The Bengals are a great opportunity to reestablish that running game, but this game's not going to be as good as the AFC North matchup from the previous Monday Night Football game, and from the Steelers, I won't accept anything less than a demolishing of the Bengals. Steelers win this one 34-20. All right, that's going to do it for the games. Let's do the Week 14 Pick'em recap. I finished with 10 games correct. We had 8 guys hit the 13-point mark for the first overall spot. As for the overall leader, Niner Gang is still holding the top spot down with 138, but he's got Flurpo and Quebec Steelers right behind him with 137. D. Peterson is also putting his name in the running with 136, but there's still so many people with a shot at coming through to win this whole thing. So don't forget to make your picks for the last few weeks, guys. This week, I'm just trying to get my Christmas mock draft finished before the Saturday games, but the Christmas design that I used on the intro of this video is the same one that I used in my Christmas mock from last year, and it is a, excuse my French, a son of a nutcracker to render on this Mac. The template that I'm using is just poorly designed, and literally it took me an hour to render that 10-second intro. It also lags while I'm designing with it, and there's so many errors on my mid-season mock that I think I'm going to redeem myself with that format and then just add a little Christmas flair to that style. So stay tuned for that. I will have a playoff predictions video coming up for week 16. I would like to experiment though with something else. So week 17 is going to be a TikTok exclusive. I'm going to be doing the same thing, but the entire video will be formatted for 1-minute TikTok videos. I might try to upload them all as one giant portrait version here. I know YouTube doesn't promote these as much, but think of it as the equivalent of me resting my starters in week 17. Thank you guys so much for watching this far into the video. You are the best. Merry Christmas. Stay safe this holiday season. Greatly appreciate you guys liking, commenting, and subscribing on these videos, and I will see you all in the next video.